Hit it, boys.
Happy Thursday, HTF Bet fanatics. Welcome to another episode of HTF Bets. This week, it's the big week of it all, the Super Bowl, the granddaddy of them all, the game amongst games. You can call it whatever you want, but for us, it's the biggest game of the year. Obviously, for Nick, this is as big for him because once upon a time when he was a little kid, he was, I don't know, Nick, you were probably like, 6 years old when the Buccaneers last won the Super Bowl. Now you're a grown man. You get to witness Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay playing the Kansas City Chiefs. So we're going to dive into a lot today. But before I go to my usual co-host, I got to introduce the man, the myth among legends, Jon Whitley, joining us virtually through Zoom. Mr. Whitley, welcome to your first HDF Bet show. How you doing this afternoon?
Oh, I'm doing excellent, man. I'm so excited. I've been wanting to get on this show for such a long time, and I'm glad we were able to finally make it happen. You guys should be glad we were able to make it happen. So should the viewers. So I'll tell you something. Let me tell you something. I'm betting 84% on the season. So I'm going to make you guys some money. I'm going to make everyone watching this some money.
Well, we always love a man who's ready to throw a lot at the parlay. But, Rob, before I get to you, I think it's honest that we go to Nick first because this is his week, man. I mean, if it ain't the Rays, if it ain't the Lightning, it's now the Buccaneers. So it's like a homecoming of the year, 2020 to 2021. So, Nick, how you feeling this week, man, with the Super Bowl being in your home city?
I'm very, very anxious. I don't know how any of this feels. I'm on overload right now. I'm on overload. Never even saw my team in the playoffs. First year they're in the playoffs of me remembering. We're going all the way. And I do not know how to contain myself right now. I don't know if it's excitement or if it's nerves, but I am ready, though. I'm ready to get it going.
It's always fascinating when your team's in the Super Bowl. I know Rob could relate to that a couple years ago when the Rams were in. Unfortunately, they didn't get it done. But, Rob, either way, how excited are you for the Super Bowl despite the Rams ain't in it?
Hey, you know what? This is a great Super Bowl matchup, probably one of the best we've had in a long time. So I'm excited for it all. I'm excited for the halftime show. I'm excited for the game itself. I'm excited to see Brady versus Mahomes again. You know, I'm excited for everything. I think it's gonna be a great game.
You know, even though the Super Bowl kind of feels different this year because of COVID and social distancing, I mean, you still got to get excited. It's not going to have the same feel as maybe years past, but like you mentioned, Rob, we're getting a great game. A lot of storylines in between. LaShawn McCoy going back to the Super Bowl with the other side. I think that's another big story, but the biggest one of all is the young GOAT versus the current GOAT, Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes, the battle of quarterbacks who have won Super Bowl, league MVP, you name it so far, they've done it with each other. This game is going to be a dogfight. Kansas City is favored by 3, but Nick, I want to start with you. I mean, Tom Brady, this is usually his big stage. This will be the first year that he's doing it with Tampa Bay. How are we feeling going into this game about the Chiefs? How are you going to stop them after the Week 12 matchup?
Well, I think the key to this game, and I think it's not being talked enough about, in that Packer game, you know, Jordan Whitehead went down with an injury. Antoine Whitfield did not play in that Packer game. So we hope to have them both there. They're both right now questionable to return. They haven't practiced since that Packer game. And if they go into this Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes with Andrew Adams back there as the main safety with Mike Edwards, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. And I think that's probably the biggest part of the game, honestly, because we know Carlton Davis cannot lock up Tyreek Hill. Nobody really can. And you saw he had a career game the last time the Bucs lost to the Chiefs during the regular season. So they got to have one of those safeties over there on that side with Carlton Davis. And that starts with getting Jordan Whitehead and Antoine Winfield back on the field on Sunday.
No, absolutely. You talk about key impact defenders. Those guys in the secondary, they've been crucial for this Tampa lineup. John, let me ask you this. I mean, the Chiefs are going to be down a few guys. Eric Fisher isn't going to play. McCole Hardman isn't going to play. Do you feel like that this takes away from Kansas City's offense whatsoever? I mean, they still have Travis Kelce. You still have a crowded backfield. You have Le'Veon Bell, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Does this kind of downturn in terms of Kansas City's game plan whatsoever?
Yeah, well, you know, a lot of that remains to be seen. I think ultimately we know 3 things of why the Chiefs offense is going to be just fine. We know Mahomes is playing. We know Kelsey's playing. We know Hill is playing. They're going to find their offense. I'm not worried about that. You know, at the end of the day, Tyreek Hill's uncoverable. Travis Kelce's uncoverable. There's a reason this Chiefs team has lost only 1 game this year. So the Chiefs offense would be the least of my worries.
No, absolutely. You mentioned the one game they did lose the regular season finale, but really with all the boys together, they just only lost one. Rob, like we all mentioned, I mean, Tom Brady, he's no stranger to the Super Bowl. This man has been in a lot of them, 10 of them to be exact. How are you feeling? I mean, he's aging like fine wine. Are we expecting Tom Brady to do Tom Brady things in the biggest game of the year with this high-powered offense?
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about bets. I mean, when it comes to the Super Bowl, you never want to bet against Brady. I mean, Tom Brady, this is his bread and butter. This is what he lives for. He lives for the big moment. You want to talk about quarterbacks all time who, are Super Bowl MVPs, our Super Bowl, GOATs. This is your guy. It's Tom Brady. Even at 43, this is a guy that, he's been here many times before. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's coming into. He's not fazed by this anymore. So, as far as the season went and as far as the playoffs went, no, I don't think Tom Brady's been great this season or anything. Certainly not putting up, historical numbers or anything, not even close. I mean, even against the Packers, he didn't do great. It wasn't necessarily because of him that they won. So I don't even necessarily think the Bucs need him to show up. He just needs to show up, in some level, some fashion, to actually have a decent game. I don't think he needs to have an MVP type game, but I definitely think Tom Brady needs to show his experience, show his leadership, and perhaps pull off some Super Bowl miracle that we've seen many times before. I mean, you want to talk about don't counting them out. 28-3 against the Atlanta Falcons. Everybody counted that team out at halftime. Patriots came back and won. So Tom Brady's used to doing things that people bet against him. And I think that's what the Bucs have. The biggest thing is that they have a guy at quarterback who's been here before, who's done it many times before, and they should absolutely feel comfortable with Tom Brady behind the wheel.
At the beginning of the year, I did say that, if Tom Brady takes the Buccaneers to the Super Bowl, I wouldn't mind rooting for Brady because obviously the storyline, can he win without Belichick? Obviously, that's been proven. But, it's like in this matchup, because I love my homeboy, miraculous Mahomes, whatever you want to call him, Patrick Mahomes is the man. So, but I mean, there's a lot of those guys we already know who are impact players. John, who do you think is going to be an X factor in this game for the Super Bowl? One under the radar, offensively or defensively, that you feel could be the key in terms of winning this game?
Well, I think it will be. I think for both teams, it's going to be on the defensive side. I think we're going to see a more low-scoring game than people think. My ultimate X factor, though, is Tyrann Mathieu. I think he's going to have a multiple turnover game. The kid's an absolute ball hawk. We've seen it since his time at LSU. We've seen it, with the Cardinals. We've seen it with the Texans. Now we're seeing it with the Chiefs. This kid, it's easy to get caught up in the Mahomes, the Tyreek Hill, the Tom Brady. Sometimes we forget about Tyrann Mathieu, and he's as much of a playmaker as anybody in this entire game.
No, absolutely. I think, an all pro. I mean, Tyrann Mathieu, he's a veteran leader. And so far in the playoffs, he's been making the key tackles, the key plays for that Chiefs secondary. Nick, I want to go to you. You mentioned Antoine Winfield and Carlton Davis being sort of the key factors on the secondary. But what about for the Bucs? I mean, we're uncertain if Vita Vea is going to come back. We know Devin White hit the contributions for him. Do you feel like there's anybody maybe not getting talked about on the Bucs that you feel like is going to be a huge player for them going into this game?
I'm looking at the offensive line for the Bucs. It's been very, very good this season, but a big matchup, and I think Kansas City is going to take advantage of it, is going to be Aaron Stinney at right guard. If you go back to that Washington game, Alex Kappa, who'd been very steady all season long, broke his ankle, so Aaron Stinney's had to come in. Aaron Stinney's been very solid, but he's getting Chris Jones. Who outside of Aaron Donald might be the best player in the league on the line. And so that's going to be a big point of emphasis. And I think that you're definitely going to see Ryan Jensen sliding over there more often than not to help Stinney out. But that's definitely going to be an emphasis for Kansas City and Tampa for this game.
We don't talk about offensive and defensive line matchups that much. So it is pretty important that you mentioned that. I'm even looking at Frank Clark potentially going against Tristan Wirfs. I think if you see that matchup, that's going to be a key factor because I think Frank Clark is one of the top 10 defensive enders in this league. I feel like he doesn't get talked about as much because of the Chiefs offense. So I look at Frank Clark to maybe see an impact. He played well in the Super Bowl last year. He made the key sacks and stops for Kansas City. And I think one of the big turnovers last year against San Francisco. So I look at Frank Clark to be that. So Rob, I mean, we talked about primarily on the defense. Is there anybody on the offense you feel like for Kansas City or for Tampa Bay that isn't getting talked about that could make an impact?
Yeah, and as weird as it sounds to say, I think Leonard Fournette's one of these guys. He's not, he's kind of up there in betting as far as Super Bowl MVP. But certainly he's not the guy right now in Tampa. There's so many options there with Evans and Godwin, that he's not the guy as he was in Jacksonville. But I think Leonard Fournette absolutely can have a big game. The Chiefs have around a top 10 rushing defense, but Fournette's been pretty good in the playoffs, and since joining the Bucs and really getting utilized alongside Ronald Jones, I actually do think Fournette's played really well. So he's fit in pretty well too, and I think this is a game where rushing absolutely could come down to it, especially if Brady is a little off. I mean, they're going to have to take it to the ground against the Chiefs. So Fournette absolutely could be an X factor in this game, I think.
I've loved Leonard Fournette coming to Tampa Bay, and these playoffs, I think he's been an unsung hero for them. I mean, he's made the key running plays. He scored some of the big touchdowns against Whitley's Packers in the NFC Championship game. I hope not to remind you of that, John, but I mean, he's been a gamer. He's been basically what the Bucs need to continue their offensive train. And I feel like if he plays well in the Super Bowl, I mean, Leonard Fournette's not at all scared of the big stage. He played at LSU, so he already knows what it's like going against the big time. So I'm excited for him to see. But to wrap up this segment, we got to talk about all the fun things, and then we're going to discuss in our next segment our Super Bowl MVP. So I'm taking Kansas City at 4.5. Nick, you're obviously going to pull for Tampa Bay because you're a Buck, but how are you seeing the spread playing out?
Yeah, I think I got the Bucs by 6. I think they're going to win by 6. I think they're gonna cover that spread. I do.
Really?
I think they're gonna get it by 6.
Patrick Mahomes is known for keeping it close, though.
He is known for keeping it close, and I definitely think the over. I think it's set at 56 right now. I think we're going over that because to beat Patrick Mahomes, you've got to score. There was that stat. The last 4 times he's lost in the NFL, he scored 32 or more points every single time. I mean, that's what you got to do. That's how you got to beat him. So. Tampa's got to score, and I think it's a defense definitely in Kansas City that's vulnerable enough. So I'm taking Tampa by 6.
All right. I see Nick's going all in for his hometown team. John, this one, I mean, the series is even between Brady and Mahomes, but one of them's got to split it. So who's taking it, and who do you got to win?
Yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs to win this game. There's no doubt about it to me. I think the Bucs. It feels like they almost got lucky to get here. I really haven't been overly impressed with them in their playoff run. Whereas I think the Chiefs, I think the Browns had absolutely no answers for Mahomes. They could not stop the Chiefs, till Mahomes was out of the games. And they absolutely plowed through the Buffalo Bills. I think Chiefs are taking this one too, and I'm taking the points. I think they're going to win, by more than, I guess, spread set at 3.5 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I got Chiefs just over that. I got Chiefs by 4, so I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs.
All right, I guess John's still a little angry about the Packer game, and you have every right to be.
No, listen. All emotions aside, like I said, I'm betting 84% on the year. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to win the game. They're going to cover the spread.
And that's a John Whitley guarantee. You can believe
John
that.
Whitley guarantee.
All right, a John Whitley guarantee.
At your mom's house.
Okay, John. All right, time out. Woo, we getting hot in here. Robert, you're the man now. I mean, are you going to break it even between the 4 of us, or are you going to pick Kansas City all the way?
Oh man, the heart says Tampa, the mind says Kansas City. As much as I want to see Brady get another ring, just because Brady is my favorite quarterback, I think I might have to go with the Chiefs here. I think the Chiefs are going to cover. It's definitely going to be a close game. I would be very surprised if it's anywhere near a 2-touchdown game. It's not going to be a blowout either way, I don't think. But I think what's going to give the Chiefs the advantage is the potential for Tampa to have a weakened secondary. And we've talked about it before. It's Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill are unguardable right now. And so Tampa has a good defense, but do they have a good enough defense to stop those two? And if those two go off, you're looking at Mahomes going off. And listen, this Chiefs team they know how to win. They've been here. They were here last year. Mahomes knows how to win now. So it's definitely going to be a battle, but I think the Chiefs take it. I think the Chiefs win it in Tampa. I think the favorite wins here.
Sorry to say, Nick, but you're the lone wolf going on this one, but understandably,
It usually
because
works
it
out
is
in his
home-
favor.
Hey, I was the only one on this panel 2 weeks ago to pick Dustin Poirier to win that fight. I will say that right now, but I will also say to John's point that the Bucks have not looked impressive. I agree almost a little because I don't think it can be debated. They have not played their best football yet. And that's so weird for a team that's in the Super Bowl, but I cannot go back and pick out one game that they have played all together as well-rounded. And that is my only concern, that we are in that now they go against the biggest test, and now we expect them to put together their best performance of the season. So I do have my reservations for that.
All right. All right. Well, concern reservations all aside, Nick, your team's in there, but in the famous words of Kobe Bryant, job's not finished. So, they gotta finish it. So that's the thing for it. So just a quick toss up. John, I'm going to go to you first. I mean, you're covering the spread, but over under, are we going to see this being a high scoring shootout affair? You mentioned it could be low scoring. How are you seeing the over and under? The over right now is at 56.
Yeah, so it's at 56. I got it just under. I've got 24-28. That would put it at 52. Reason being, neither of these are like tremendous defenses, but here's the thing: they both of these defenses are capable of forcing a lot of turnovers. I think you're going to see at least one. I think you're going to see one turnover from the Chiefs. You're going to see, probably 2 interceptions from Brady. I'm saying that right now. So it's going to be that kind of game. 24-28 under.
All right. We got a Jon Whitley score prediction early on. Rob, are we seeing this going over or under 56?
Yeah, I think it's going to go under. Like John said, we're talking about ball hawk defense here. You're talking about, forcing interceptions. You're probably looking at Brady again, looking at least 1 interception. I'd be shocked if it's not more, just the way he's played this year. And, Kansas City is good with interceptions. Same thing with the Chiefs side. Chiefs defense isn't impressive, but, I do think they'll be able to get those interceptions. You're talking about Tyrann Mathieu here. You're talking about, forcing the quarterback, Chris Jones forcing the quarterback and stuff like that. So I do think you are going to see some turnovers, and yeah, it will be under. I don't think they cover that. They will cover the spread. I don't think they cover the overall points.
No, understandably so. Nick, I mean, I've seen a trend with the Bucks so far in the playoffs, 31, 30, and 31. Are we seeing this being a little bit extra to maybe go over, or do you think it's still going to be under?
Yeah, I said a little earlier, I think it's going over because I think that's the way the Bucks are going to win. They've got to just outscore their opponent, and I got it at 37-31 is what I'm going with.
Ooh, after the recent trends of the playoffs, I mean, like I said, I'm kind of seeing it being 37-31, in that ballpark, maybe 34-31. Like I said, between 4.5. So I'm going to say it's going to go over because, like I said, this is Tom Brady's game. He's used to stepping up. I actually think a bold prediction here that this could surpass the highest scoring Super Bowl when Brady was in New England playing the Philadelphia Eagles. I really think that, like I said, this is 2 of the finest quarterbacks to play in this game. And it's so weird that you get a generational talent locked in terms of it. It's better than you can ask for. And to wrap up this segment, we got to do a little fun and mix it around. So, I mean, everybody's betting something on the Super Bowl, but I figured why not we bet on the most important factor, heads or tails. So, Nick, because this is your hometown team playing the hometown Super Bowl, give me your take. Heads or tails? What are you taking?
Tails never fails.
Tails
Never does.
Tails never fails. I love it. John, are you feeling the same way?
I'm not, so I know the saying, everybody says it, tails never fails. Here's the thing, it actually does very much of the time. I'm going heads.
Going heads. Robert, what are you thinking? Heads or tails, my man?
Let's go tails. Why not?
Tails never fails.
It does fail though.
It does fail, and I probably will fail. So knowing my luck, it'll be heads, but I'm going to say tails anyways.
I'm gonna say heads. I'm always a guy that just likes the good side of the coin, and you got to be lights, camera, action with the face. You know what I'm saying? So I'm definitely loving it. Well, let me tell you. Well, let me tell you something, John. We are going to go into our next segment, which is Super Bowl MVP, because we got to talk about who could be the game winner. I mean, we have our favorites in Mahomes, but who could win it? We could probably see it a non-player win it. And then to wrap up today, we're going to talk fantasy basketball. Stay tuned. HDF Bets will be right back.
Welcome back to HDF Bets. And last segment, we were able to make our picks for the big game. And we talked a lot more in depth about key matchups and everything. But now it's time to get into MVP. And if we're being honest here, it looks very bleak that a non-quarterback is going to win the MVP. If it's going to be Tom Brady, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes, depending on when this game. That's already known. But there's a lot of very sneaky bets out there for who else could win the MVP. So I'm going to start with you, John. Out of all the non-quarterbacks in this game, Chiefs or Bucks, who do you think has the best chance of winning the MVP?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, Nick. I actually just placed a bet on Tyrann Mathieu. I think if we're going with a non-quarterback, odds plus 3,000, you're gonna bet a little money, make a lot of money. And I think if you look in the past, when a non-quarterback has won it, it's generally been a defensive player. I'll reference Von Miller and Malcolm Smith with the Seahawks. So I think Tyrann Mathieu, if it turns into a bit of a slugfest, if Tyrann Mathieu has a multiple turnover game, he's a big name we already know, so they won't hesitate to give him the MVP. So I'm going with Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah, and he's been red hot in the postseason. So there's no reason to believe that he doesn't have a chance to win the MVP should he pick off Brady once or twice, depending on which way this game goes. I'll go to you, Okelo. What's your best bet that you're going to place on a non-quarterback to win the MVP?
It's the man who's been having, I think, the best postseason out of any wide receiver not named Jerry Rice or Larry Fitzgerald. It's the man who, when he came to Tampa, he set the single game record in Chiefs history. I got to go with Tyreek Hill. I mean, like I said, he's had the best postseason out of any player, I think, right now in the NFL. And, obviously what he did to the Bucks in week 12, I think will carry over. As we said in the last segment, Tyreek Hill is unguardable. And it's like, if you can't stop him, you don't got a great chance. So I look at Tyreek Hill. I'm going to even say that he might get a 200-yard game in the receiver. The last receiver that did that, his name was Jerry Rice in Miami. So little South Florida connection a little bit. I like Tyreek Hill, even though it's 80 minus 70, you get 10. I love my speedy cheetah to get the Super Bowl MVP in this game.
Yeah, he's already put up 256 yards, his career record against the Bucks earlier this year. So he could definitely do it. The question there is, if he has 256 yards receiving, how many passing yards does Mahomes have? And will it be enough to outweigh what Mahomes does? I mean, that's the million-dollar question, but he's definitely a popular bet. Robert, I'm going to go to you next. Who are you betting here?
Yeah, like you said, I would echo Okelo there with Tyreek, just because Tyreek is that, dynamic of a wide receiver. But, you're looking at a game where he would have to really explode like Devontae Smith did for Alabama in the championship game last month. I think, but that's what the problem is with Tyreek Hill is, like you said, if Tyreek's going off and Tyreek's getting touchdowns and Tyreek's is getting a ton of receiving yards, what does that say about Mahomes? So Mahomes is not going to not win MVP if he's, even if he's just throwing to Tyreek and Tyreek goes off for, over 100 yards and, at least 2 touchdowns. So I think it's hard to pick Tyreek there. So I would have to say Fournette. I picked Fournette for the X Factor last segment. I think I'd have to go Fournette. Fournette's a guy, is a dominant back where if he can go off in a game like that, he absolutely can take command. And if it has to go to the ground and he has to put up, yardage and he has to put up the red zone touchdowns, I think a guy like Fournette can do that. I think he's that dynamic of a running back. He's sitting at about plus 2,500. He's within the top 5 players in betting for Super Bowl MVP, especially when you take out the 2 quarterbacks. So Fournette, I think, is the safer bet, who's not a quarterback. But definitely I could see Tyreek if somehow you're able to convince whoever votes on MVP, to not vote Mahomes in that case.
Yeah, I think Fournette is a very interesting pick because, in the regular season, he took a backseat to Ronald Jones. In the playoffs, totally different story. Ronald Jones hardly can get on the field. Fournette's been that good in the postseason. He's taken his play to another level, probably making himself a good chunk of money in the offseason when his stock was low going into this year. And the key there also is Tom Brady has actually used him a lot in the passing game because we know Brady loves to throw to his running backs. And for better or worse, Fournette's due for a drop or 2 a game. He's getting the looks. And I think there's no reason to believe he won't get those looks on Sunday night. For my sleeper pick, I'm going to go with Devin White. He's the leader of this defense, and you already know he's going to be all over the field. He's going to be every time you see the ball, Devin White's going to be in the picture. He's going to be making the tackle. I think he's good for anywhere from 10 to 15 tackles, which he's done every single game this year. And he's also had a knack for getting turnovers, whether it's forcing fumbles, whether it's getting interceptions and stuff like that. And he can also rush the passer. So there's a lot of avenues there for him to break this game open. And I also say, just a side note, keep your eye on Sean Murphy-Bunting for Tampa. He's picked off 3 passes this postseason. Every single game he's had an interception. And so he just has a knack for finding his way to the ball as well. But those are throwing them way out there. I believe Devin White's odds are plus 3,000, and Sean Murphy-Bunting's not even in the top 20. So if you pick Sean Murphy-Bunting and you really want to win some money, I think that one might be your best bet. But we'll wrap up here. As you could tell, we are very excited to get to Super Bowl finally on Sunday. I'm very, very excited. Jon Whitley wishes his Packers were in there on Sunday, but they're not.
I'll say this just had to do a little bit with social distancing. So don't worry, John. Hopefully, if the Packers make a signing this offseason, I'll book it that they're going back to the Super Bowl. You can bet on that.
Man, I sure hope so. I'm disappointed in you, Nick. I was in a good mood. I was excited for the Super Bowl, and you had to remind me. So thanks a lot.
Look, John, I'm in the same boat as you right now. I mean, to think that Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown are in the Super Bowl, and to think that they were once upon a time with the Steelers, one of them is going to get a ring. I'm disappointed that it's not in Pittsburgh, and obviously we got beat by the Browns to not even get as close. So, I'm gonna have to swallow my lump a lot this thing. But actually, I'm trying to root for Le'Veon Bell because he does deserve it.
No doubt.
Yeah, sounds like a sad story for the two of you, and definitely for you too, Robert.
I'm just happy the Rams got Matt Stafford.
Silver lining.
I'm sure you're very excited for Matt Stafford. But with that being said, we're going to go to break now. When we return, we're going to jump into fantasy basketball and what's been going on the court this year. Like we said, very excited for Super Bowl 45, and stay with us when we return.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to HDF Bets. In our final segment here, we're going to be talking fantasy basketball. We do this week in and week out, hoping to give you some fantasy basketball advice so you can, add and drop from your team, get the most maximization out of your points as you can throughout a week. So we're going to get right into this. So we're going to start with waiver claims. Nick, I'll go to you first. Who's one guy, whether it's on your team or somebody else's team you're prospecting, who's one guy you would add from waivers this week?
I'm going to go with Cole Anthony, the rookie from Orlando. I think that since Markelle Fultz has gone down with his injury, Cole Anthony has taken his spot there at point guard. And if you watch the Magic night in and night out, and it's very hard to do that, with the way they're playing right now, Cole Anthony is definitely the only part right now that's worth watching. Next to Nick Vucevic. I mean, you saw last night he had that awesome dunk. That's one of the dunk of the year candidates right there. He's just very exciting, and he's starting to put up 20 points every other game right now. So he's on a good little trajectory right now. So I think that if you need some solid point guard production, I think Cole Anthony is your guy moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Cole Anthony's been as good as advertised for the Magic so far, asking to do much more than they expected of him. A real shock he fell where he did in the draft. The Magic were lucky to take him there. John, I'll get to you next. Who's one guy you're adding from waivers, either to your team or recommending to?
Yeah, I'm adding Cody Zeller. He's he's a guy like Cole Anthony where he's been just trending up, getting better each week, and he's nearly averaging a triple double. He's nearly averaging a double-double with about 9 rebounds and 8 points. So as long as those numbers keep turning up, he'll be getting you a double-double before no time. So you're going to want to add him before somebody else does because he is trending upward in most leagues for additions.
Perfect. Good answer. And Okelo, who's your guy that you would waiver claim this week?
I'll tell you something. Feeling pretty good. I mean, my team is 4-0. We forgot to gloss over that, Rob, but
yes.
A guy that I added.
Unlike the fantasy football league, you're actually winning.
I'm winning, and I'm glad I got Whitley on here because we got Austin the last time I kicked his butt. I'm kicking Whitley's butt right now, so life is good. Let me tell you something. I'm going 5-0 because then I need to kick Sean's butt. I'm kicking everybody's butt, and Rob, you're next too. So we'll get to that in a little bit, but I'm going to go with a guy who's a little off the radar, scrappy, but he's been getting a lot of his points off of rebounds and assists. Old guy, believe it or not. I mentioned Doug McDermott the last time. For the Chicago Bulls, 3-way that you need. Either you need a power forward, small forward, center. Thaddeus Young. I'm going to mention out the points and mention to you. 21, 50, 39, 45. Thaddeus Young has been a key contributor for this Bulls team outside of Kobe White and Zach LaVine. So I'm looking at this. According to ESPN.com, he's been added in 37.1% of rosters. He's 48.4% rostered. You need a guy that you need a quick pickup. I think Thaddeus Young is your man. He is the guy that I think is going to get you those value points. He may not get it on the scoreboard. He might get you 8, but those assists and rebounds, they always tick up for you. So you take my advice. You want to go undefeated like me, you take Thaddeus Young off your waiver wire.
Good choice there, Okelo. And I'll finish up. I'll finish up with JaMychal Green. Kind of an off the radar guy. You want to talk about off the radar? I mean, he's really not rostered on a ton of teams in a lot of leagues, so he should be available for you. But what I like about JaMychal Green is that he can do a couple things more than just put up extensive points. He's not going to do that for you because he is a bench player. He only averages around 20 points a night, which isn't great, but he can hit 3-pointers. He can get the rebounds, which is very, very important in fantasy basketball. You need to get those rebounds. You need to get those steals, those assists, those 3-pointers, and that can start racking you up points in fantasy. That's what you care about. So JaMychal Green's a guy that can do that. And he's actually, I mean, here's a stat line for you. In 11 games, he's had 10, 2, and 5. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive for a guy that does come off the bench because that does get you points. Those points start to add up quickly in fantasy. So JaMychal Green's a guy that should be available for you. He's not, some marquee name, used to play for the Clippers with the Denver Nuggets now, but absolutely he's a guy that can get you points when you need him to. If you need to add someone in for an injured player or just you have that extra roster spot available. Nick, I'll go back to you. We'll talk about waiver drops now. Who's a guy that, just needs to get off the team, needs to sit in the waiver wire for a while, you think?
I'm going to go with Hassan Whiteside. 33% of people on ESPN own this man right now, and they are out of their minds because he's nothing more than a backup center. He's sitting right now with the Kings, which is the doormat of the NBA until further notice.
That's the Pistons, though, Nick. That's the Pistons.
The Kings are right there with them. So, and he can't even start. Rashawn Holmes has taken his starting spot and has been very solid as a young up-and-comer. This looks like the start of the decline for Hassan Whiteside. When he's had time to be in there, he hasn't been really effective at all. Career lows across the board. So I'm getting rid of Hassan Whiteside if you have to.
Yeah, good there. Totally agree. Hassan Whiteside, yeah, not the fantasy player a lot of people seem to think he is. John, who's a guy that you would drop?
Yeah, I'm dropping Wayne Ellington. Lately his attempts have been down, his makes have been down. So that's a guy if you're looking for somebody to drop, that's the guy to drop right there.
Yeah. Short and sweet. That's what I like to hear. Okelo, who's a guy you would drop?
Today feels like Christmas because it's just my lucky day. I mean, first off, thank you, Robert, for the Denver Nuggets plug. I appreciate that. We coming for you. We coming for you tonight. I promise you, we're gonna beat you, but we'll discuss that another day. But I'm gonna go with a brother who ain't doing so right. I know Nick mentioned Lonzo Ball last week, so I'm gonna go with a different type of brother in the NBA, and it's the Curry, not the one that's the 3-point god, but his low-life brother Seth. No disrespect to Seth. The brother can shoot, but right now he's a bona fide scrub. He can't play. He's obviously averaged between 20, 11 points. And ever since he came back with COVID, he has not been the same. So he need to go back to his dad, ask him for some piece of his gene so that he can get back shooting again. I think right now as well with Philadelphia, you look at their point guard position between him, Shake Milton, and of course Tyrese Maxey. It's been up and down. So in all honesty, I'm staying away from Philadelphia 76er point guards until further notice because they are not shooting right now. Doc Rivers is playing more of a well-rounded game that makes Joel Embiid the vocal point. So, and point guards have been limited to where they were at the beginning of the season. So Seth Curry is the top of the list, but if you have Shake Milton or Tyrese Maxey as well, just dump them. They're not doing well for you, and they're only going to get you 11 points. And especially when you're in a tight fight like I am against Whitley, 11 points ain't going to do for you much. So you need those value points. You need your 20s, your 30s, and Seth Curry ain't dropping it. So Seth, you ain't your brother. So Damian Lillard wave. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you for the Stephen A. Smith reference there with the Kwame Brown situation. Love to see that. I'm going to go for my drop to round this out. I'm going to go with Kendrick Nunn. He's actually on a quarter of fantasy leagues, which is pretty crazy because he only averages about 25 minutes, which, is decent, but he's also just averaging over 20 points a game. So, he's just really inconsistent. He had a 30-point game a few nights ago, but I mean, it's mainly just over 10. You know, it's well under 20 most of the time. He's just not a guy that's really adding a lot to teams. And so he's not a guy that I think should be in your rotation. I think there's better options out there. I think all four of us named better options, really, that could be picked over a guy like Kendrick Nunn. And I think the proof's in the pudding. The guy is actually right now the most dropped player in fantasy basketball. So I think that says it all right there, that Kendrick Nunn is not a great option sitting right now. So with that being said, that's going to do it for us here at HTF Bets this week. John, thanks so much for being on. We're happy to finally get you on.
And welcome to Club Pena for a fresh hot L.
Oh man, Club Pena.
It's early in the week, Okelo. And also, let me be very lucky you didn't have me on here during fantasy football season.
Hey, but I still beat you though. That's the most important thing. I beat you and Rob, except for Nick.
John is still waiting for that trophy, by the way.
No, where's my trophy?
Actually, you mentioned that. Hold on just for 1 second, Rob. I know we got to end the show, but we got to show the fantasy owners and Okelo holics what they're fighting for this year. But y'all excuse me for just 1 second.
Absolutely.
I just got to bring it out. 1 second.
Oh, I'm waiting for this. I got to see this.
Hold on.
Oh, man.
I actually am an Okelo holic, by the way.
Hey, listen, Okelo has a ton of Okelo holics that watch this. They ain't watching for me, so.
Yeah, no, I'm one of them, and I hope he has some merch rolling out soon. I just can't get enough of this guy. He's the best.
Oh, he is. He absolutely is, and I hope he didn't put the trophy too far because he's causing a lot of dead air. So.
Yeah. Also, is this the trophy for fantasy football, or is this?
Sorry for the long delay, but ladies and gentlemen,
presenting the trophy.
Whitley, when I do come back to Orlando. John, when I do come back to Orlando, you do get your Super Bowl trophy. But ladies and gentlemen, let me present you all the HTF Bets Basketball Larry O'Brien Fantasy Championship, which is currently in my possession. So, John, you will get your football trophy when I do come back to town. But as of right now, this sticks with Club Pena and the undefeated. So I got to enjoy this all. It is my month. It's Black History Month too. So, I got to enjoy the celebrations and stuff that come with it. We 5-0, baby. We going to be undefeated. We going to make championship records thanks to GOAT James. So, LeBron, I thank you. I hope you do lose to my Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is what we are fighting for. It's for this piece that ain't going home with nobody except me. Because
I'm coming for it.
Try your best. You're not beating me this week. 79
counts.
Is it time to go home yet? Is it time?
Yeah, it's time to go home. It's time to go watch the Super Bowl this weekend. I hope everybody enjoys the Super Bowl. It's going to be great. I think we're all going to really enjoy it. We need this. So, yeah, absolutely. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining me, boys. Let's enjoy the Super Bowl this weekend. This is the biggest game of the season for a reason. So I'm here for it, and I think you all are as well. So thank you guys so much. Tune back next week when we're right back here. Same bat time, same bat channel. We'll see you all next week.
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about. Wait!
Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.